Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. My name is Mike at Filmboy24, and it's time for round number 29 of Found Film, where we find an old roll of film from somewhere, anywhere. We try to process it, we scan it, and hopefully give you some results. Got some hot coffee and some 16mm found film. Now this one's a little bit different than what we usually do. In fact, it's a lot a bit different because this is a roll of film that was not in a cartridge of any kind. Now I can tell you from experience, most of the time when you find a roll of film in a camera, it's been exposed for years. People open the camera, they run it, they test it, they do things, or even if it's in a can and it's a roll film, it's so much more susceptible to light and being exposed than if it's in a cartridge. Now, I didn't put a cartridge up here, but if you don't know what a film cartridge is by now, sorry, really. But what I did is I bought a little lot of film, had 6 or 7 rolls of old expired film. By the way, if you didn't see my last video, it's all about recans and expired film and stuff like that. I'll put a link to it up there somewhere. So anyway, in that batch of film, unbeknownst to me, I thought I was getting a whole bunch of film that was, none of it was exposed, and I can experiment and play around with it. I got it really cheap. There was like 6 or 7 rolls total in the whole batch of different types of films. One of the rolls was this. Yeah, beat up pretty bad. It's a Cine-Kodak, which is Kodak, Cine film, Super-X black and white film. It's an old black and white film, and it had a sticker on it from Kodak. It had this red sticker, a couple of red stickers that held on this piece of paper on the back here. The piece of paper, first I'll tell you what the red sticker says. I'll put a photo of it up there too. Film not processed. Please read attached explanation. Eastman Kodak Company. The enclosed film cannot be processed by our laboratory for one of the following reasons. Now, it's a little ripped, so I can get most of it. Not reversal film, or not our product. Our laboratory facilities accommodate only the processing of Kodak something film, maybe reversal. I got an R and an E, and that was it. On which the processing cost was included in the price. So, most of the time, Kodak, I believe, when they sold black and white film, they didn't include processing unless it was in the old magazine. This film should be finished in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendation, which is usually printed on the cartridge or the carton. So this film was sent back for some reason. They also have a label on top that's stuck on here with someone's name. I'm not going to show the name, but it's from Wichita, Houston, Texas. Wichita, I guess, is the street. But it says 1-16mm, not EC. So I don't know if they're not processing it because it's not Ektachrome, or I don't know. Anyway, for one reason or another, Kodak would not process this film. When I peel back the label and I see who it goes to Kodak Film Processing, but it says not OK film in sort of a grease pencil or marker or something on here. It was handwritten. There is a stamp on the box from December 4th, 1952. An 8-cent stamp, by the way. Man, how times have changed. 8 cents to ship this carton of film to Kodak. So I knew we had something. I wasn't sure, so I carefully opened it up, and it was in this can right here. Whoa, settle down. On a daylight spool, and oh wow, I can see, I didn't notice this earlier, but as the light hits it, it says old stock, completely exposed. Ooh, somebody actually wrote, you can't see if you look straight on, but and you're not going to be able to see it probably. Maybe I'll put a picture of it up. But if you turn it just right, you can see it says old stock, completely exposed. I never saw that. Ooh, I get excited about the dumbest things. And it says not Kodachrome on the other side, which is a good thing for me because I hate Kodachrome. Anyway, I just now noticed that, but it was in this little can. So I took it in the dark room and I opened it up and I cut a little piece off the end and I did a little experiment. I processed in There's hardly any information, on processing old film stocks like this online. So what I did is I took a strip, just I don't know, 8 inches, and I processed it for 15 minutes in HC 110B, because I did an old roll of Super-X a long time ago, and I had to do it for a lengthy amount of time. So I thought maybe, well, that's about the time we need. Well, it wasn't even close. I got a completely black strip. So once more, I cut a smaller strip, and I did some dunk tests. And that's where you put the first strip in for a couple minutes, then you go farther for another couple minutes, farther for and eventually I ended up with this. Now, you're probably not going to be able to see that, but it was 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and 9 minutes. And right in between 3 and 5 minutes, it looked pretty darn good. So anyway, I processed this film for 4 minutes in HC 110B at about 67.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I rinsed it and fixed it for about 7 minutes, hung it to dry. We got some actually halfway decent results. I can only assume, there's not an etch code on the film, but I can only assume, yeah, I know the old adage of what it means to assume, but I can only assume the film was probably shot in 1952, seeing as it was sent to the lab in 1952, unless they just held on to it for many years, which they didn't, because you'll see in a second. So I am assuming this film was shot in 1952, which makes it almost, I mean, if you go by months, almost 70 years ago that this film was shot. We know it was shot at least by 1952, because that's when it was sent. So I was excited to get anything at all. And yes, I did get pretty decent images out of this. And this is exciting, and it's a little bit disheartening to me at the same time. And I say that because I'm the only one in the world that's ever seen this roll of film that wasn't shot by me. It was shot by a total stranger. And I don't deserve to be the only person that's ever seen this roll of film, because it's not my roll of film. It's not my personal memories. So that's why I bring this stuff to you guys. If you have seen my channel for any length of time, you know I'm on film number 29. Actually, I've done many, many more of found films than that. I did 18 of them, and some of them are on my channel early on, searching for 86, but I've done a lot of them, and publicizing this particular series, 29 films. This is number 29. And I do it because I think people need to see this kind of stuff. This is Americana, it's memories, it goes back and shows us what life used to be like. I'm not going to show you the montage that I usually do. I use that for Super 8 and Remjet and all that garb. You know how I process film. You know that I put this into a large Lomo type 100-foot tank, and I process it the way I do. If you want to see how you use a Lomo tank, I did a video about 1.5 years ago on a big 100-foot Lomo tank. I get a little bit emotional when it comes to this particular kind of thing because it's so old. I think this is probably the oldest found film I've ever done and gotten halfway decent results. So without too much more of this, let me show you what I got, and we'll be back in a second to talk about it. Here it is. So I'm happy with that result. Definitely no mistaking what it is. It's a bunch of kids in their late teens, early 20s probably, having fun at a lake or a reservoir or something, running around in their shorts and bikinis. And about the last 45 seconds, you can see, obviously there's a couple in DC, because you can see the White House and you can see the Capitol building there at the end, the very end. Some really super cool cars from the 50s. Somebody needs to see this. If I'm guessing, and I'm usually wrong, the kids at the I don't think it's a beach, but the kids at the lake, probably not around anymore. Again, this was shot 70 years ago, minimum. But their kids probably are. The film I purchased from a seller in Wisconsin. I don't know if that's where this was shot. I doubt it, since it was shipped from Houston, Texas. If you recognize anybody in that film, I know that's a long shot, but if you recognize anybody in that film, if you are a sleuth and you think you can figure out who's in that film, they got kids, their kids have kids, somebody might get a kick out of that. It's guys doing what we do best, and that's annoying the girls. You know, they put up with us. You know they put up with us. Okay, with that, there was another roll of film in this batch that I'm also a little concerned about. Concerned not in a bad way, but it's this Ansco Chrome 16mm color film. Now, it's color film, but I probably will not attempt to process it in color. I'm not going to open it here. I've done it in the dark or in dim light and kind of looked at it. It's also in a can. It's on a daylight spool, just like this. Daylight spool, meaning you can actually handle it in the daylight. I have 7 lights right now, so even though you should be able to handle this in some dim light, I don't want to open it just to see if there's anything written on the outside, because I didn't pay attention. But if you pull a little bit of the film, I could read that it said exposed. So what they did back in the day is the head of the film didn't say exposed. When you were done with your roll film, it's not like Super 8 carts nowadays that clearly say exposed when you're done. This actually had it in pinholes, letters, that literally says exposed at the end of your film, and that's what this is. So we might have something here also. Again, it's Ansco Chrome color film. I don't know, where's the date here? Oh, 1961 expiration. So the film was probably manufactured in the late 50s. Don't know what we have. Hopefully we'll find out. If you like videos like this and you want to see tons more, because I got about another 100 rolls of found film in the wing, waiting, in the wing. Ready to go? How about tap that like button for me? And right there, see the picture? Subscribe. If you subscribe, you won't miss it. You won't miss the goofiness. You won't miss the found films. You won't miss the fun. You won't miss the memories. You miss a little time in your life because you got to watch, but until the very next time that I see each and every one of you found film gurus, here it comes. I'll see all of you on the very next found film.